Scientists are undecided whether Yellowstone Supervolcano will destroy mankind. This is on Sputnik News. Yellowstone is a supervolcano, as we know, and it sits in Yellowstone National Park. It could blow much faster than previously expected, but specialists believe there may not be enough molten magma to set off a super eruption. Well, the super eruptions, we had 3 in the past 2 million years, but we've had a number of minor eruptions since then. We had one that was not considered a super eruption about 70,000 years ago. We've had 80 eruptions since then, and we've had eruptions just about every 6,000 years. Now there are growing fears that the usually dormant volcano, the supervolcano, which has experienced thousands of tremors in the past year, well, I think it was over 2,000 last year, could rumble back to life after 630 years of its last super eruption that sent ash and rock hundreds of miles across America. Researchers analyzing materials and minerals around Yellowstone Supervolcano at Yellowstone National Park discovered that the changes in their temperature and composition only took a few decades, and that was much faster than the centuries previously thought. They still believe that despite some sensationalist claims made by media, the supervolcano is unlikely to erupt anytime soon, and even if it does, the consequences would be less than catastrophic. Quote, "There's no reason to think it could impact mass transport the way the Iceland eruption did, nor would it have any effect on crops," end quote. National Geographic researcher Christy Till told Fox News. And she added, "There's no evidence to suggest it could destroy mankind." According to a team of Bristol University scientists, volcano supereruptions may occur once every 17,000 years ago, which means with the 2 most recent such eruptions happening about 30,000 years ago, new ones may not be long in coming. If the city of Denver, with a population of 600,000 and located around 500 miles away from Yellowstone, is the biggest city with a direct risk of a major blast. Well, we also have Salt Lake City and Cheyenne and Rapid City, Billings, Montana, Boise, Montana. They would also suffer in the event of an eruption. However, Michael Pollan, the scientist in charge at the Yellowstone Volcano Observatory, has admitted that we don't know if there's enough magma beneath the surface to have a super eruption. He said the evidence suggests that a lot of magma reservoir is actually solid, and about 50% of it is molten, so there may not be enough down there to have a super eruption. Hidden deep under Yellowstone National Park lies the volcano, the supervolcano. It's able to spew more than 1,000 cubic kilometers of rock and ash all at once, 2,500 times more material than had erupted from Mount St. Helens back in the 1980 eruption. An eruption like that could blanket most of the United States in a thick layer of ash and even plunge the Earth into a volcanic winter. Now, we know that last year we had a huge amount of quakes in Yellowstone, over 2,357 located in the region, and that's also impressive swarms. But the fact is there are a lot more recorded than are reported. Now, this according to the USGS, again on Sputnik News. Most of the quakes have been small enough that they have not been felt by people, but the larger ones, including the most powerful one of 4.4 on the Richter scale, June 15, 2017, certainly have been felt. Dr. Michael Pollan, a research geophysicist at Cascades Volcano Observatory at the United States Geological Survey, said that earthquake swarms at Yellowstone were not particularly extraordinary because half of all earthquakes at Yellowstone occur as parts of earthquake swarms, so they're regular occurrences. The fact that the swarm on the western edge of the park has been ongoing is a little unusual. Most swarms only last days to weeks, but it's not unprecedented. There was a swarm in 1985 that lasted for 3 months. So what is happening now is the sort of thing we expect from Yellowstone, Poland said. There are also earthquakes taking place northwest of Yellowstone in Helena, Montana, and also in neighboring Idaho. All this is affected by, of course, the movement in Yellowstone. Poland explained these events are related to faults in the region and not related to Yellowstone, and we have not seen any changes in other monitoring data from Yellowstone that might indicate a change in the status of the Yellowstone magmatic system due to these regional earthquakes. The scientist, Poland, also said there is no reason to expect an eruption at Yellowstone, claiming that Yellowstone activity remains normal. There are no changes in ground deformation or thermal activity that suggest a change in the magmatic system, nor any truly anomalous earthquakes. Prior to eruption, we would expect to see lots of earthquakes and a very significant ground uplift, and that's just not happening right now. Well, the thing is that this was, it's an oldish type of an article, about a year old, and we have seen deformation, and in the Norris Geyser Basin, we have seen uplift in the caldera, and Norris Geyser Basin, where a downlift in the caldera. Norris Geyser, where Steamboat Geyser is, has seen an uplift. But here, these geologists of the USGS claim that we would see a huge uplift and a huge deformation down. Well, I don't know what huge is, but 2 feet in the last decade or so is not a small amount, I would say. Now, they've also found a new hotspot northwest of the Yellowstone Lake. They found the hotspot there. They have not been there because it's very difficult to get there. You have to walk there. You can't take a car into that area. And I would venture to say that they will probably have a field trip, having Yellowstone geologists go there with a hands-on experience, actually see with their own eyes what's going on. Is there a new hot lake? Are there new geysers? Are there new fumaroles? What is there exactly? New hot springs? They have to see what's going on there, because that has deformed. Trees have died around that area. The ground is warm, hot, and they have to see what's going on there. They found that concerning their examination of the over 10,000 hydrothermal spots in Yellowstone. And as we know, Yellowstone has over 60% of the world's volcanic geysers. They're all in Yellowstone. Now, magma last flowed at Yellowstone 70,000 years ago, and the last large eruption was 640,000 years ago. From one of the previous USGS statements, they claimed that, I think it was Lowenstein who said that they had 80 eruptions since 70,000 years ago. And just about every 6,000 years they expect an eruption. They've also told us that Yellowstone has a hotspot. There's a magma plume right there. And also that Yellowstone is 2.5 times bigger than what they thought it was originally. It reaches all the way down to Mexico and all the way up to the northern territories of Canada. So, while another large eruption, they say, is highly unlikely, a small hydrothermal explosion from one of the geyser areas could take place, which could be quite dangerous to those in the vicinity. Brian Wilcox of NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory, California Institute of Technology, suggests drilling into the volcano and using pressurized water to release the heat from the magma chamber in order to neutralize it. When asked whether this is a feasible option, Poland told news that even though the concept is interesting and could provide a lot of information about volcanoes through studying the rocks that are brought to the surface, drilling to prevent an eruption is unfortunately unrealistic. He's afraid of it. He says that and no one should ever touch Yellowstone in that way, because you could bring about what you're trying to mitigate, trying to forgo. That is an eruption. He said, the potential for unintended consequences is vast, and the approximations used to design the proposed drilling plan are approximate, so the plan does not strike me as feasible. If you'd like to join me on my Patreon account, you will hear content not covered by mainstream media. These riveting stories will be based on my research, and I will state my opinions and give my personal insight on diverse and controversial subjects and world events not covered by mainstream media, and not supported by YouTube guidelines. So whatever I have on my Patreon, most of those will not be on my YouTube channel. Please consider becoming a member today. More of the most significant and important videos will be on my Patreon channel. Your support helps me to continue my research and keeps this YouTube channel alive. And we depend on your support, your generous charity, because we help economically challenged families here in Athens, Greece, in Kapota, and we also help the young generation with university tuition and the community around our church. Thank you.